is Dr. Faisal Shaikh from Mehran University of Engineering and Technology, who will be talking about green Internet of Things, and I really look forward to this talk. So, all yours.
Yep. Okay. I'll just try to, thrill and motivate for the Internet of Things and green Internet of Things, and we will see how we can take, or what community has already taken advantage of energy harvesting in Internet of Things. So we'll try to be interactive here. I hope everybody of you here is knowing about Internet, right? So yeah, what is the bookish terminology for Internet? Anyone? What is Internet? Network of knowledge. It's exactly the bookish definition of Internet, right? But when we see, let's say, journally, lots of journal about Internet is there, so lots of component about Internet, and then definitely the important one is the information, right? So information transfer from one point to another point, and whoever is looking for this information, they can basically go into the Internet and then access that particular information. Okay, so but why this information? Who is generating this information? Any idea? Who is generating this information on Internet? Right? Yeah, this is the now. Let's say when the Internet was invented, let's say. So traditional language, right? So Internet, who is generating? Generally the enterprises, big companies who are generating, putting the information, and who was using this information? We people, right? So that was the paradigm of information sharing over the Internet long ago. But what we have seen currently, things have been very much changed. Before coming on the Facebook, I put information that I'm going to deliver a talk here, right? Just a little bit back, I was seeing somebody here just copying all the movies which were collected for this day, and probably they will share it over the Instagram, right? Or maybe something like this, okay? #FIT 2007. I just added it here, right? So there is a trick, so you can do it. So probably, so see, with the time, information sharing trends have been changed a lot, and humans are basically pretty much more involved now into the whole system. So I'm talking about we people around, right? Since we moved a little bit late. So in the rest of the world, yes, this is there. But there are other things also which are, having the inputs for the information. So what exactly is happening within 1 minute over the Internet? A huge amount of data has been generated. So for about 3.3 million posts are done within a minute during last year. It is supposed to be significantly increased in 2017. So last year's stats, 3.3 million posts within a minute over the Facebook, and pretty much high number of tweets over the same minute is for the Twitter. Okay, and again this data is this part of the region, but if you see Gulf region here, they are going to be very much high because they are much inclined towards Twitter than Facebook. So YouTube, 500 videos are included, and probably your, okay. So I have to be a little bit centered because the audience was a little bit more here, so I just wanted to be on this side. Okay, so huge amount of data has been generated. So what is the next wave for which already the world has been introduced into? The sensor devices. Okay. How many of you are having a smartphone with you? Almost all, right? And this smartphone is almost having 3 to 4 sensors with that. I don't know how many of you are going to use it, but yes, they are there, right? So until unless you are in need of those sensors, otherwise they are just laying down. I have one phone which is having, which can basically show you the heart rate. So having now establishing this, big people syndrome, blood pressure. So I just normally try to use and check my heart rate and what is going on, right? Time to time. So we will see the increased rate of sensors in our daily lives. Okay, we are slowly and gradually getting used to all these sensors, and now they are basically not making any difference in our lives. Prior to that, definitely, yeah, maybe it will be tough for us to have this strangler, but now we are very much easy with these stranglers to be, hanged in our drawing rooms and the different places we are moving around. So, and these things are almost coming up everywhere, almost. With a certain time period here in this part of the world also, which we call as the developing countries or third world countries, these sensors are going to be the very much real part of the life. So they are moving to the public infrastructures as well. So for example, one of the examples, how many of you are irritated with these on the road, on Islamabad road and Lahore roads, if you move, the flashes up, how many of you are irritated with this? Or we are already used to it, right? We are already used to it, right? Tell them the flash pada, okay, I don't know what is happening. And now, yeah, it's now the daily routine, so who cares, right? So, so this is how these sensors are going to be part of our life, right? And then, how many of you know about Fitbits? Right? Yeah. Sorry, only you. But inshallah, when the next level you will be here, everybody of them will be having a Fitbit also, right? So a wrist-arm watch, probably a smartwatch. Maybe you know about smartwatches and Fitbits. They are basically calculating whatever you are doing, right? Somehow how many steps you are taking, what is your heart rate going on, what is the temperature of your body, and so on and so forth, right? But they are pretty, at this stage, pretty erroneous too. Or again, the environment which we are having. Okay, I was traveling, if you know Sindh, I was traveling from Hyderabad to Karachi, and the motorway is under construction. Now almost it's done. So I was traveling one day, and this Samsung S Health application, all of a sudden it started beeping. I said, okay, what happened to my phone? I just take the phone out and it says, congratulations, today you have completed the task of 6,000 feet to be done. I said, wow, that's great. I was inside the car, and because there were lots of bumps over the road, and basically the sensors were misinterpreting the results. So there is a lot of need where we can basically utilize these systems and update those systems within our environments. Because you never expect, let's say, a very bumpy road for about 1 hour abroad, right? So the alternative routes are also very good enough so that you can travel easily. So the people are also connecting towards the internet and other things like, most of you have heard about V2X communication. Cars are being, supposed to be communicating over the internet to the different other things. So from person to person, we have changed to person to machines, and then machines and machines are also communicating, and then things are now going to be the future part of this whole paradigm of information sharing. Bit old slide, but we have almost already reached to this 50 billion mark, roughly. But let's say by 2020, these are the number of devices which are going to be the part of our daily lives, and which is way beyond the number of people on the earth. So we have to do something. So we have to start putting the feet into this area. So instead of a network of networks, it's a network of objects when we are talking about Internet of Things. System which will automatically going to identify what type of object I'm going to interact with and how to interact with that particular object. Right? How to enable all these things? Yeah, definitely there is a lot of mathematics behind. I'm just giving you the buzzwords here. So progressively we have to evolve in order to interconnect these objects. So what we foresee is from 3 to 5 computer sensors with a person. This is going to increase to 25 to 30 sensors along with our bodies, which are going to be embedded. So what we are looking here is internet, everything on internet, and everybody on internet. Okay? So this is the key idea for the Internet of Things. But how we are going to enable this Internet of Things vision? Right? It's important to understand what are the key enablers for Internet of Things. This is a pretty bit old paper of mine where we have discussed about different technologies which are going to create the momentum for the green Internet of Things, where Internet itself and its technologies are going to play a very important role, along with the sensors which are there, which are progressively very much providing lots of new dimensions, and you find almost all type of sensors now. You just think of, I wanted to measure this thing, this physical quantity, and the sensor is available with you, right? So you have to just then integrate with the communicating device, and then you can basically be part of or utilizing that particular sensor. Along with this, we have the tags, which has created a lot of momentum for Internet of Things. So one of the enabling technologies for example, your RFID tags, passive and active tags, and so on and so forth. When we talk about IoT, it leads towards the massive data, which probably Omar was also talking in the morning. Just to give you a rough idea, in US, for a normal US commercial jet engine, the amount of data which is collected in a 1 year is something like this. So for every hour, one engine of the plane is going to generate about 20 terabytes of data. A single engine in 1 hour of a jet plane is going to generate 20 terabytes. 2 engines multiplied by average duration of the flight, 0.5 hours. Number of commercial flights which are flying in 1 hour within the US into 365 days. Okay, I don't know how to read this, but it's in terabyte, right? So a huge amount only generated by the planes in US in 1 hour. So what we have seen over this time, that we have already crossed the amount of data generated by the humans and then by the machines. So it's pretty huge. And what we are forecasting that by 2020, around 40 zettabytes will be the amount of data going to be generated. By the way, what is zettabyte? Right, a very large number. Right, that's the correct. Only we know because we have to use the hard disk. So we know the external hard disk, it's in terabytes. So yeah, 2 terabytes, I don't know beyond that. Right? This is the case, right? Most of the time we don't know. So let's have a look. This is what we are looking towards now. So when we are talking about zettabyte, it's basically 2 power 21. Oh, sorry, 10 power 21. Okay, this is a zettabyte. And already the data scientist, and one of the keynote speeches in the morning, we were talking about the data, right? Data scientists. So data scientists have already started talking about yottabyte, which is 10 power 24. And the next generation is going to be bruntobyte, that is 10 power 27. So we are talking about huge and massive amount of data which is already being generated in our system, by our systems. So if you have a look to this one, again, it's a bit old statistics, about 2015-2016. Roughly, we are reaching towards 12 zettabytes here, exabytes. Okay. But why we are talking about data? Actually, the talk was about IoT, right, and green IoT, and we are talking about data for about 5 minutes now, right? Why we are talking about data here? Okay, because more data means more power they require. Okay, and if you are not going to maintain it, it's going to be a hell job. Just to give you an illustration here. In order to run all these IoT devices, we are basically supposed to be having telecommunication systems. So a small example from the telecommunication perspective, we have roughly about 5 million towers which are deployed worldwide. Okay, in order to power those 5 million towers of your GSM and the 4G, we use this 4G service very proudly. I have Zone, I have this. Okay, the internet speed which I'm getting is, let's say, 30 megabits per second, good. Okay, but at the back end, to in order to power up these 5 million towers, we require about 9 overheads to give them power over the year, right? Or 15 nuclear plants. Okay, NESCOM is going to see these stats and they will love it. But what about the carbon emissions? So roughly 78 million tons of carbon dioxide is released because of this power which has been provided to these towers. So these are rough stats. They are not exactly, but just to give you an idea that whenever we are talking about high amount of volumes of data to be available with us, at the back end we are also paying some price on it. Okay, and what is going next? Okay, what is the future? There are still a lot of people who don't have broadbands at their doorsteps. Okay, they are still looking towards whether there is internet or not. So they don't know about Internet of Things. Okay, we are talking about Internet of Things, and we are talking about many more to be adjusted. So energy is a key concern for Internet of Things. So having this, have you ever thought of when you are charging your mobile or whenever you are using your PC or laptop about this carbon dioxide footprint which is going to be utilized, or who cares? Who cares? Yes, so this is the problem, right? So how many of you basically turn off your LED televisions or just put them on the standby? Almost always on a standby. On the standby, it is also consuming energy, right? How many of you just take the charger out or make the button off when you are charging your device? Again, who cares? Okay, yeah, it's down. Okay, leave it. Every time I just plug in the wire and things are done for me, right? So, but at the end, they are basically going to pay in case of the consumers in the form of bills. But at the back, all these companies are going to basically pay to have this energy enabled with us. Okay, there are government policy shortages too. I do agree with this also, but there are shortcomings at our sides too. So we have to look into it. So generally, by 2020, what we expect is currently, let's say, this ICT or IoT infrastructure is about consuming 2% of global carbon emissions. So roughly about 830 million tons of carbon dioxide is being comes under the ICT or IoT banner. Okay, so which is going to be expected by 4% within 2020. So by 2020, carbon emissions which are done by the ICT or IoT, that is going to be the 4% of the overall global emissions of the carbon dioxide. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? It's a blessing? IoT is a blessing? No. So there are lots of ads which I am seeing no. Okay, so this is after my talk or it was already before my talk? Before my talk. So somehow this is the perception which is coming up. Maybe that these are the different other aspects of IoT which leads towards this, I say, discrimination. Why? Because maybe we know that there are some social aspects too which we don't like about these new technologies to be enabled. But let's say from the energy perspective, if we see it, if we are going to, or IoT is going to, or ICT is going to contribute 4% and the global emissions, then yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem to be pondered around, right? But on the other hand, there are a lot of opportunities too. Right? So 2% currently we are going to be consuming, but still 98% is there which is not by the ICT or IoT. So we can basically use this 2% in order to lower the remaining 98% of the carbon emissions. Okay? How we can do that? Two ways. One, we can make the IoT design itself green. Right? Another will be we can basically make the environment green by using the IoT. So why not we do the both together? So we make the IoT systems themselves green, okay, by enabling different technologies which are readily available now, and also using those devices we can basically then make the planet green also. How? So this is again one of our papers where we are classifying the different IoT applications where IoT can help reducing that 98% of the carbon dioxide emission perspective. So for example, industrial automation, we can use these sensors or these IoT nano devices in the industries. And we have seen there are a lot of projects which have already been in place around the world as well as in Pakistan too. I was surprised to know about MOL. How many of you know about MOL? The gas company, right? I thought in Pakistan that's a foreign company. I thought in Pakistan if they are operating, so they will not be using that much technology. One of my cousins, he is working in MOL, so I was just discussing why not we use. He said we have already all these things in Apple, so all of our wells are equipped with all the sensors, all the pipelines which are coming from the wells, and at the central point they are all sensor enabled. Even the fiber optics which are laid in order to get the data from the sensors, they have a lot of techniques to make sure that they are not broken and how to monitor all those things. So I was quite impressed that okay, already industry is basically moving towards this industrial revolution. Health and living is having a lot of potential where we can utilize these sensors and IoT. Then transportation is the one, energy, smart grid is there, which is again basically the part of the application domain for Internet of Things. So yes, we can do a lot of things by using this IoT in order to lower the carbon dioxide footprint on the global emissions. But in order to make the IoT itself green, how we can do it? There are various approaches. Few of them I'm going to quickly discuss here. One can be energy efficient routing. Okay, we have one paper there. You can have a look to it. Then we can go for the duty cycling by putting these devices into sleep mode for some time. Whenever there is no need for those devices to work, we just put them on sleep, and whenever there is a need, we just wake them up, do the certain calculations, and then again go back to the sleep. So this is called as the duty cycling. Okay, and the third, which we are here today, is the energy harvesting. Why energy harvesting? Because most of the time batteries is the major problem for these sensors. Since we wanted these sensors to be deployed in the areas where it is difficult to access. So as an example earlier for the engines of a jet plane. So if you wanted to access a sensor within that engine, okay, forget about it. Okay, so you have to overhaul the whole engine again in order to just retrieve the data or to replace the batteries there. So you wanted to have certain energy harvesting mechanisms, or you make the batteries so long life that there is no need for the replacement. One of the classical examples which encountered with me few weeks back, one of my colleagues, he came to me and said that he wanted to have a leave because he wanted to go for a small operation of his mother. I said, what happened? He said that, my mother is having a pacemaker and the battery life is now down, so she has to go through the surgery so that they replace the battery. Okay? And she was already 60 plus, 70 plus probably. Okay? For a 70 plus patient, you again go for a surgery just in order to replace the battery. It's going to be a nightmare for the whole family. Right? I know, because I also went through different surgeries. My father is also ill. So I know this problem, right? But if we can do something so that these batteries are going to operate, and again, you know that pacemaker is needed for them, right? If you are not going to place a pacemaker, probably she would have been died earlier, right? So there is a need, so we wanted to have solutions about it. I'll show you one a little bit better about biomedical applications of energy harvesting, 5 minutes, quickly. So what is energy harvesting? We wanted to power these devices by using the ambient energies which are available to us. So when we are talking about human body, what is readily available to us? Probably the blood. Okay, blood circulating in the human body, or the muscles which are moving around in the body. They are the great source of energy harvesting for the batteries. I'll show you one example just in a very short while. So the idea of energy harvesting is, somehow you get the power from the environment so that your systems should remain working. So what are the energy sources? Okay, what are these ambient environments from where we can get the energy? We can classify them. So in one of our papers, we have classified them as an ambient environment where we can have this power or external sources. So for example, RF. We are using this phone anyhow, right? How many of you are using this wireless charging systems? आपका मोबाइल फोन जस्ट डॉक के ऊपर रखने को चार्ज होगा, तार लगाने की जरूरत नहीं, काफी कॉस्टली है, थोड़ा से let them be a little bit down, then we will be having all of them, right? So this is sort of an RF power, right? Wi-Fi access almost everybody is going to use, or your 3G and 4G networks. So anyway, the waves are there. Why not we use those waves to empower the system, right? How many of you have used this car holders where there is a call, so light चलना शुरू हो जाती है. उसके अंदर कभी हमने बैटरी नहीं लगाई है, right? So whenever there is a call coming, so all the LEDs around this holder start blinking. How it happened? The magic is behind this RF energy harvesting there. Okay, that's solar almost now because of the conditions of the electricity. I don't know about Punjab, but in Sindh it's worse. So panels, we all know about those things. Then we have thermal, the change of temperature. Okay, the flow waves and human and mechanical. Quickly, so what is the system comprised of energy harvesting? We have transducers, so which are going to convert the different forms of energies into DC powers, or then again, if you wanted to have an AC, it is difficult to have, but let's say to have a DC power, we have these transducers. Then we have to have these power conditioning systems, which are going to make the power appropriate so that your system can utilize it. And then we can have, or we may not have this storage. Okay, sometimes we require that the energy which we are generating, that should be stored so that it will be given to the system for the longer time period. Or for example, one of the projects which we have done at Mehran University is, since we know that labs and library, for example, they are only going to be utilized in the daytime. So we have only the solar panels which are directly given, and then this conditioning system which is going to power up for the time when there is a lot of sunlight already available. So in the Jamshoro region, we don't have that much cloudy seasons. So the sun is almost there, and the timings for our university is roughly, let's say, from 8 to 3. So for all this time, or 8 to 6, for all this time, sun is there. So we don't require this storage, because most of the time the major cost is going to be for these storage systems. So this storage can be a battery, this can be a capacitor, supercapacitors are there, which can be utilized in order to store this. So I'm just going to quickly show you few IoT-based or wireless sensor network-based energy harvesting systems for different types of energies. For RF, for example, these are few. In this particular case, they have developed a prototype where they have multiple antennas of the different frequencies. They capture the waves and then harvest the system. Recently, I hope you have heard about this news that University of Washington, they have the first phone which is only to receive and send a call. They don't require any battery to be attached with it. So only from the ambient RF signals, they are going to basically make a call and receive a call. Okay. So in 2017, it was one of the breaking news that the prototype is basically now available, which can be utilized. By the way, this first author is at the back end. This happens in the academia. In the morning, this was one of the discussions also. The advisor and advisee relationships. So I hope he's smiling, so I hope he's good in the group. And then solar based, we have this HALI mode, one of the very first prototypes in wireless sensor networks, where iris mode was basically connected with these solar panels, and since this network was supposed to be into the sunlight area, so it was pretty easy for them to utilize the solar panels for these devices. Then for cold plates and we have hot plates, and whenever there is energy transition, so we have a thermal DC converters, which basically then convert this thermal energy into the DC powers. And these basically are these turbine-based or flow-based energy harvesters are used in mainly irrigation systems, where there's a flow of water going on, and that basically turns around the turbine in order to produce the power, so that the sensors which are there to monitor the flow of the water, they can be alive for lifetime periods. Then this is pretty interesting slide here. This one, this is basically the pacemaker which I was discussing with you. So what they did is they analyzed that what muscles of heart are going to contract and expand very frequently. So they use piezoelectric strips on these muscles, so that whenever there is a contraction and expansion of the heart, they are going to change this piezoelectric material properties, and you are basically getting the energy out of it too, in order that is sufficient enough to give to the pacemaker. So instead of conclusion, we have a lot of potential in IoT which can help us to have the green Internet of Things. Thank you very much. I hope there are no questions really, because I tried to have more simple talk. Just small publicity here. We are having a conference at the conference here that is going to be in April in Jamshoro. It's a 5th edition of the conference, and I would love to have you here at Jamshoro. Thank you very much.